Hey y'all beautiful people, welcome to Kamira's Kitchen. Today we making some delicious, make you want to throw down honey, Birria Quesatacos, and we're going to do it on the stove top. Let's go ahead and get cooking. I have 2.5 pounds of a boneless chuck roast. And as you can see, this meat got some fat on it, honey. This cow was fat. All right, so you want a meat that's like that. I'm gonna hit it up with a little bit of olive oil and then 1 tablespoon of complete seasoning. I'm also gonna use 2 teaspoons of beef bouillon. This is like powder, Maggi powder, as well as 2 teaspoons of garlic powder. You know, garlic goes with everything. 1.5 teaspoons of thyme, 1 teaspoon of pepper, and 1.5 teaspoons of kosher salt. Now, to get all of the seasoning to get into the meat, we're gonna rub it down. Okay, you're gonna have to rub this meat down like you rubbing down your boo with some body oil. Okay, rub it all up in there. And then we're gonna set the meat aside at room temperature for 30 minutes. It needs to come to room temperature so that when we pan sear it, it will not make the meat tough and it will caramelize easier. While this is marinating, we're gonna prep the fresh ingredients and also the dried ingredients. I have 3 guajillo chilies here, and these are dried. And to prep your chilies, you're going to need to remove the stem as well as all of the seeds. The seeds will actually make your sauce bitter if you leave them in. So you can either choose to press them all out while they are dry, or you can open them up and then dunk them in some warm water. This will not only remove the seeds, but it's actually going to also remove any of the dirt. When they dry the chilies, they're often outside in the sun, and dust and just particles can get on them. And so it is important that you wash your dried chilies and also remove the seeds. Once I'm actually done dunking them and the seeds are out, I'm just going to allow it to just sit in that water while I prep the other fresh ingredients, because it's also going to soften these dry chilies to make them easier to blend. Now here I have these sweet peppers. I'm using the mini peppers today because I think that they are actually better tasting, sweeter, and a little bit fresher than the large red bell peppers. If you've noticed that, let me know in the comments, but I think that these are much better. What do you think? So I'm going to also prep these by cutting off the stem. They've already been washed, and I'm also going to remove the seeds. Now, after I prep this, I am going to get my onion prepared. I have 1 onion, and I am going to mince this onion, the whole onion up. Now, if you guys already think that I'm doing a great job with this recipe, please go ahead and give me a like, because it helps me get more recipes out to more people. And I just love sharing these recipes with you guys, and I hope you're finding value from this as well. I've already minced 5 cloves of garlic, and I'm just placing that to the side. I have 1 tablespoon of brown sugar, but white sugar will work as well. And I'm going to use 1/4 cup of apple cider vinegar. The acidity will just balance out all the flavors. And for a little heat, okay, a little heat, honey, we're going in with 1 can of chipotle chilies. These are also known as chilies in adobo. I'm going to use the whole entire can of these chilies in adobo. Now, this is going to add a little kick. Okay, it's going to add a kick to this dish. And if you like things milder, I would suggest you use 1/2 can. Okay, and then you could increase some of the guajillo chilies, maybe use 5 guajillo chilies instead, because they aren't very strong. I blend everything together, and then we're going to start getting our meat prepared. Okay, into a braising enameled cast iron, I add some olive oil, and I have this on a medium heat, medium high. This is a 7, and I let my pan get hot. Your pan needs to be hot before you add in this meat to sear, or it's not going to get that nice color. So as you can hear that nice sizzle on the meat, that's what you want from the moment you put it in the pan. It has been simmering and searing right now for about 4 minutes untouched. I did not move it at all. And do you see the crust that is developing? That crust means flavor, honey. That crust means we getting off to a good start with this dish. Okay, so once it's been searing, it has a good sear on all sides. It took me about 6 minutes total to get all the meat to look right. Then we're going to start working on our veggies. I'm going to put my onions right into this pan, and I am going to use my spoon to try to get up a little bit of that fond that is at the bottom. You do not want to wash your pan, but you do want to deglaze it. So I'm just using the can from the adobo chilies, and I'm just working up that spice at the bottom. I'm going to add in a bay leaf, 2 cinnamon sticks, a teaspoon of cumin, and also 2 whole cloves. Do not skip adding the cinnamon and the cloves. I know they may seem a little odd in a meat dish or in a spicy dish, but those sweet spices just bloom all the other flavors. I'm also going to add in 2 teaspoons of Mexican oregano, and then I'm going to add in my garlic. Now I'm only going to saute my garlic for about 30 seconds. You know, garlic can burn easy, so you just want to mix it up in there and just get it fragrant. Now it's time to start adding back in that beef. Okay, we're going to get, and now that the flavors are in the pot, we can get everything ready to simmer. Of course, add back in that beef juice, because y'all, it's a sin to throw that away. That's so much flavor, okay? And then we're going to put in all the mixture from the blender. In order to get everything out of the blender, I am going to add just enough water to it to clean everything from the sides. And then I'm going to throw that in there as well. I end up adding about 2.5 cups of water. You could also use beef broth to clean out your blender, but instead I prefer to use the beef better than bouillon. It's just more affordable, and I don't really like storing big cans of broth. I can just use this instead. I'm going to cover this and I'm going to let it simmer until tender. Now this is about an hour in. Now as you can see, my meat is cooked, but it's not falling off the bone. So I'm going to let this simmer for about an hour and a half more. While my meat is cooking, let's prep our fresh ingredients, okay? So I have a lime, I have some parsley, and I have 2 fresh spring onions that are from my garden. I'm gonna cut this lime into wedges, and this is gonna be more of a garnish for when the tacos are done. Now, if you don't like lime, lemon would also be a good option. I know a lot of people enjoy cilantro with their tacos, but today I was just not in a cilantro mood. I'm not one of those people that think cilantro tastes like soap, but it also can just throw me off a little bit. So parsley was good for me, but you can use cilantro. When I was cooking everything, guys, I needed some spring onions, so I just went outside and grabbed these and cleaned them fresh from the garden. If you don't grow anything, I would encourage you to try to grow simple things like onions and herbs. And let me know in the comments if you're a gardener and what do you like to grow. And doesn't it make your cooking so much easier, right? Now it's been about 2.5 hours, and at this point my meat is tender enough for me. You want the meat to be tender enough where you can shred it with a fork pretty easily. Now I like my meat to be fork tender, but I don't like it to be just mushy. I don't like it to be totally just soft, if you know what I'm trying to say. So there's a little bit of chew still left in my meat. So I'm going to go in with 2 forks and just shred it up really well. Now you could also take the meat out and do this in a separate bowl, especially if you were planning to eat the consome like a soup or something like that. But y'all, I was not trying to do another dish. You ain't had time for that. Okay. So I just did it right in the pan, and look at this delicious meat. And if you want more consome, just add a little bit extra beef broth. Now I have some corn tortillas, and I'm just going to dip them straight into the pot with the beef. Now I know some of y'all going to be like, oh my gosh, she doing it with her hands. Guys, wash your hands in the kitchen, clean your hands, and then just do what you need to do, okay? My family doesn't mind. So I'm just going to dip it right in there, and then I'm going to toss it into my hot cast iron skillet. And my cast iron skillet just has a little bit of lard in it, and I just like the flavor of that. I let it cook for about 15 seconds on one side. I flip it, and then I add in a little bit of my beef. Well, actually a lot of beef, because y'all, I like a lot of meat in mine, okay? And then I'm going to hit it up with some Mexican cheese, some of those spring onions, and then a little bit of that parsley. I'm gonna add a little bit more cheese, because, you know, why not, y'all? Okay, why not? This is a taco. May as well go all the way. Okay. And then I'm going to flip it. Now, I think this is actually easier to do with some tongs and a spatula together. It just helps hold everything together, because as you can see, I like to overstuff my tacos. All right. And them little pieces of beef that just fall out into the skillet and get all crusty. Y'all know that's the best part. Okay, you know what I'm talking about. Okay, let me know. Let me know. All right. Now, once this has gotten toasted, look at our delicious taco. Okay, I'm going to place this aside, and then I'm just going to assemble all the rest of my tacos by dipping it in the consome, frying that tortilla really quickly on one side, flipping it, adding that meat, cheese, parsley, onion, toppings, and just searing it until it's done. Now, y'all, I want you to tell me, if I made you these tacos, honey, and I brought them to your house, how many of these you about to smash? Okay, how many of these tacos you about to smash? I smashed a clean 3. My husband took out about 4 of them, but how many you gonna get? All right. Now, look, I have my tacos ready on the side. I have those lime wedges for garnish, and I also have my consome. I put a little bit of extra beef broth in it to make it looser. Guys, I hope you love this recipe, and I hope you know that I love you. Please come back, and God loves you the most. Thank you so much, and bless you all.